Hey, everybody. I am T. Michelle, and I'm here today with my girl, Deanna. So, Deanna, tell me what you sipping on today, girl.
Well, I had planned to sip on something, but ESCOM, the local power company, decided for me to have other plans, seeing that I have no lights tonight. So there will be no tea for me to sip on.
Oh, well, I'm sipping on some green tea today, so I'll drink in your honor. Anyway,
Thank you.
today we are talking about racism and anti-blackness in Africa. Let's get into it. So, is Africa a respite from racism and anti-blackness? What do you say, Deanna?
That's a big hell no for me. Not just a no, but a hell to the no. And I'll be honest, when I first came here, I actually was thinking something different. I expected it to be like, because it'd be like, hey, yeah, going to the land, act people, and we not gonna have to worry about racism and all these type of things. When I find it to be the exact opposite. I'm here in South Africa, and consistently, you have these issues. I'm in Johannesburg, which is better than other parts of the country. Like there's some areas I just don't even need bother to go with because I don't have the patience for it. But here, even you can literally be in grocery stores, at banks, and you stand in line like everybody else, like, yeah, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Random white person come in, next thing you know, everybody would go to help the white person. Just a couple weeks ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was giving me a story when she was going to a festival here. She had backstage passes, like open access with the artist type of pass. And they have artist transport to take her to where she needs to go to collect her tickets, wristbands, or whatever. Along the way, the driver sees a random Indian man. He actually stops and be like, "Sir, you're lost. Can I help you?" The man tells him where he needs to go. Do you know this driver got detours to take the Indian man where he needs to go? And so my friend's like, wait. You are transport, not just regular random shuttle, but this is for the artist. He's like, no, I need to take him to where he needs to go. No, you need to take them to where they need to go. So then the Indian man actually puts his hand up to her face to tell her to stop talking because he's trying to tell the driver where he needs to go. He actually takes the Indian man where he needs to go instead of my friend. Then when they finally get her to where she needs to go, it's closed. And then someone else is there who also needs to go where the artist is at. So now, why the driver who just picked up the random Indian man, don't know him from Adam, starts questioning the other two people who need to go to the artist too. Why? Because they're black. And this is a common thing here. Girl, I day after day after day, constantly. What say you?
Well, I'll say yes and no. So, do you have to deal with the daily microaggressions, um, oppressive systems, and just, overall racism that you deal with in the United States? I would say no. But I would say that racism and anti Blackness definitely exists on the continent, though it manifests in a different form. So, you guys know I am in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, which is a francophone country, and it's located in West Africa. I've had similar incidents there myself. I mean, there was one particular occasion. It was me and two other black ladies. One was a black American, the other one was Togolese American. Anyway, we were sitting at the restaurant. We were talking with the waiter. He was taking our order. And this group of about 6 or 7 white people shows up. And he's like, "Oh, I'll be right back. I need to take their order." And we're like, "Hold up, wait a minute. What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I need to go take their order." We were like, "Oh, absolutely not. They can wait just like we had to wait. You can take our order and then you can go and wait on them. Like, we're not going to sit here and wait when we were here first and wait for you to go serve some white people. Like, this is insane." But yeah, I mean, that was just one incident. I mean, I had another once again at a restaurant, and this is a local restaurant. It's, a popular fish restaurant. And it
Mm-mm.
pretty much is mostly locals who are eating there. So literally every time I've ever been, it's generally speaking going to be locals. Every now and then, you may get an expat or whatever, but generally speaking, it's locals who eat here. Um, Customer service is not the strong suit. So, there's always a
For
wait. It's
you.
always crowded. You're going to wait to have somebody come to your table if they come at all. And sometimes they don't even come to the table. You have to go up to the counter and place your order yourself. Anyway, this white couple came in and they were immediately approached by a waiter. I mean, just like no wait at all. The waiter shows up, he takes their order, but then to put the icing on the cake, he goes and finds an oscillating fan for them. This is
Girl,
literally
stop. A
the
fan.
first time I have ever in my life seen a fan as a restaurant. Like I didn't even know that they had fans because I've never seen it. So while everybody else is, in this restaurant sweltering because it's, 90 degrees in West Africa, like it gets hot, 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 of course they couldn't stand it. So they had to make sure that they had a fan and they were comfortable. So, these are some of the kind of things that you're just going to deal with. And I always say that, just like slavery affected, Black Americans and others in the diaspora, uh, colonization definitely, apartheid, all of that affected people on the continent, and it continues to manifest itself. It is just plain and simple. Uh, I don't know how else to describe it other than white favoritism and
Absolutely.
anti-blackness.
And see, I think it's a little different for you down here in South Africa. And I would say by extension, some like other parts of Southern Africa, like Namibia, it's like that because their history is more similar to ours. I mean, I don't work here. I don't think I could work here because the microaggressions that you see at home, as well as just the outright, blatant racism is very prevalent here in the workforce. Even this whole myth that Black South Africans are unskilled and educated, to me, is part of that. The reality is that they just don't want to pay Black South Africans for their skills and training that they have. Because those same people can leave South Africa and get hired, to do things with the skills that they have. But because the economy is still owned by white people, they have to deal with that. So I can't say here that it's not, the same as in the US. It most definitely is very similar. But with that said, I also can't support this notion that you see from a lot of West and Central Africans, because they love to insult, like people in North Africa say that they're not African, that they don't like real Africans, meaning them from West and Central Africa. Like, the whole issue with Tunisia recently expelling people when they were like, see, they're anti-black, they're this, that, and the other. And they do the same thing with Southern Africa, saying, oh, it's xenophobia, they don't like other Africans. Well, I can't really say that's what it is. Because my experience has been the same when I'm in West and Central Africa. I mean, the first country that I visited on the continent was Nigeria. And when I had a lot of Nigerian friends like through college on. So I was expecting a certain things because the Nigerians I know are very bombastic. They stand up and they be like, hey, we're not taking this. So imagine my surprise when I get to Nigeria and it's the exact opposite. Like you literally see people running around tap dancing for white people. Or I shouldn't just say white. I should say non-black because you also get it with the Syrians, you get it with the Chinese. It's like anybody but black, they can respect and have some act right. But for me, the most egregious thing was I would never forget when I was actually leaving Nigeria to go back to the US. And they stay trying to hustle you for dash. Dash, 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 dash. So this was years ago, so I'm not sure if it's changed or not in terms of the airport. But they used to make you lift up all your bags, put them onto this table so they can check them to make sure you don't have anything you're not supposed to have. Lies, because they ain't checking for nothing, but trying to see something and be like, give me a little dash, right? So I don't have an issue lifting up my bags. Boom, boom, 2X, no problem. But what I noticed was there was an older lady in front of me, and she had two of her grandchildren, Nigerian lady. Now she's got multiple bags plus the children. You would think all these men standing around doing absolutely nothing would be able to come and help her, right? Nope. They just standing there looking at her, watching her. So I'm helping her to help put the bags in there. While we doing this, white lady come, call her Miss Miss Betsy. You should have saw the way they running. Can I help you? Let me help you. Lifting up her bag. And she's too frail to lift up her bag. But this elder, because they tell us that respected elders is so important here. Everybody's ignoring and can't bother to help. And that for me was it was like literally shock, because it's not what I envisioned, especially not from Nigeria. And I experienced similar things when I was in Kinshasa, in Ozzyville. The list goes on and on. Girl.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I mean, the border shenanigans and dashes, if you're in Africa, especially in West and Central Africa, you're just going to deal with it.
Girl.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen a similar situation where, older women who are, trades ladies who are selling, they have all these big bags, nobody is helping them. But, if someone white shows up, then, all of a sudden it's like, hello, miss, how can we help you? So, I mean, yeah, it's a problem. I think it is probably shocking for a lot of, Black Americans and diasporans, because it's just not something that you would expect to see or experience in Africa. But, we just have to be realistic about it. You are going to have this experience.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters which region, whether it's, north, south, east, or west. At some point, you are going to deal with a situation where, you are going to be treated less than, than a white person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite interesting because, I've always, heard that, in terms of travelers, Europeans are considered quote unquote cheap because they're not good tippers. And so it always fascinates me how, people kind of jump to serve them when, the likelihood of there being some significant financial benefit from it is just not likely to happen.
Because it's not about the financial benefit. It's simply because they're white, in this perception that white people are superior, even over their own people. I tell people, for me, the first time I traveled to the continent, I remember telling myself, I understand how my people ended up in the Americas. Like, I understand. There's this reference given to white people that you just can't put into words. And it's mind-boggling. So I do think that when people are coming here, they need to be ready. Because for me, it's not occasional. It can be a daily occurrence, depending on how active you are in the community. It's systemic. It's a major issue, at least in my opinion. And yeah, I would say, go ahead.
I would agree. I mean, I think that, for me being in West Africa, I think that I'm able to control the amount of white people that I see or interact with on a daily basis, just in terms of, there's certain stores or markets or whatever you can go where they just typically aren't going to go. So, true. You can control it somewhat more to that extent. But, if you're going to places where there are, a lot of, expats that are going or tourists, then you definitely can, expect to deal with that. Absolutely.
And I would say even outside of us, like, yes, you see that type of thing. But for me, the biggest reason why I know that it's anti-Blackness is because of the state of the continent, especially in what's considered sub-Saharan Africa. People, we want to glamorize this whole thing now, like, oh, this is Africa, all the fancy parts. But the majority of the people do not live like that. The majority of the people live in a level of squalor that you could not wrap your head around. And for me, that's directly related to the anti-Blackness. The fact that they don't even love their own people, because everyone's just striving to be the ones who get the money, you see, who got the closets full of money, like, the president, the former president in Gabon recently, Bongo. All the money that they find it. People want to be that. Not thinking, you know what, this is enough money for us all to be able to come up to a level that should make other people, jealous of us. Instead, it's, I can keep everybody else down here. And I mean, and it's a level of squalor that, yeah. So to me, if that's not anti-Blackness, I don't know what is. And I would say even more so specific to anti-Black women and children. because it's often the women and children that you see like this, and everybody seems okay with it. And in my experience, it's actually better in Northern Africa, as much as people like to want to say that they're not scared. When you go to North Africa, because I think they don't, even the people who may look like me, right? Who look like you, they don't necessarily have the label of being black, but clearly, if they were, they would be black, right? They still are in environments that are better than what you see in other parts of Africa.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with that. Yeah, like you said, I mean, there is in some places just the poverty
Hmm.
is just unbelievable. I mean, it just really pains your heart, and you have to wonder, like, some of these instances. I mean, I think it was recently. I forget which one of these countries it was that had a recent coup, but they found one of the former
Let's go bone.
presidents had, yeah, like, was it 25 or 80 vehicles? I mean, it was just something, luxury vehicles. I mean, it was completely insane. This just
Yep.
millions of dollars of safer. uh and like you said, you think about it, my goodness, look at all the poverty that's in this country, and how people could just be raised to a minimum standard of living if all of
Hmm.
this greed, and corruption, and what ultimately, like you said, is anti-blackness didn't exist, because there is no way that you could love your fellow man, your fellow black brethren, and be okay with some of the things that you see on a daily basis.
Just not possible.
It's just
And
not
so I,
possible.
it's just not. Is what I say is, if in one country, if they can't care about the people in their country, if they don't give a damn about the black people in their country, right? How then do we expect people to believe that they gonna care about Africans, black Africans, as they like to say, as a whole on a whole continent? It's not even feasible. Is the notion of Pan Africanism realistic if people in single countries don't have act right and don't like their own people? Well,
Well, good question.
well, that's a topic we're going to discuss next week. We're going to discuss, is Pan Africanism a viable concept here on the continent? Join us. See you soon.
Bye, everybody.